Tears, hugs, and fireworks. Jimin breaks down remembering their year together. Jungkook holds him close in a heart-melting moment, sparkling fireworks sparkles. "Don't leave me," Jimin's voice cracked as he clutched Jungkook's sleeve, his entire body trembling as if the night itself could crush him. Fireworks exploded overhead, their brilliant bursts reflecting off his tear-streaked cheeks, the colors dancing wildly across his blurred vision. Jungkook's hands found Jimin's face, gentle but firm, anchoring him in a moment that seemed suspended outside time, outside reason. The smell of smoke mixed with the faint sweetness of caramel from the nearby festival stand, an odd contrast to the heaviness that hung between them. Jimin's breath came in uneven gasps, memories flooding in with a force he hadn't anticipated. Every laugh they had shared, every argument, every secret glance, they surged through him like tidal waves. He couldn't stop the sob that escaped, raw and uncontrolled. Jungkook didn't speak at first. He simply held him, forehead pressed to Jimin's temple, letting the warmth of his body and the quiet strength of his presence speak volumes. The fireworks cracked louder, startling a few children nearby, but in that small cocoon of their closeness, Jimin felt an unexpected calm. You scared me," Jimin whispered finally, his voice hoarse, nearly lost under the final explosions of color. His hands clung to Jungkook's jacket as though letting go would mean losing the thread that tethered him to reality. I can't believe we made it through." Jungkook's thumb brushed over Jimin's knuckles, a delicate rhythm that felt like reassurance, like a silent promise. "I'll always be here, always," he said softly, and for the first time that evening, Jimin allowed himself to believe it. The wind picked up, carrying the sharp scent of winter air, and Jimin shivered despite the warmth of Jungkook's embrace. His mind darted back to the beginning of their year together, the uncertainty, the unspoken fears, the moments of quiet vulnerability when he had thought he might lose Jungkook forever. The laughter, yes, but also the betrayal of their own insecurities, the arguments that had left them both raw. And yet, here they were, standing under a sky painted with fire and light, proving to themselves that survival was possible not just for the body, but for the heart. Jungkook pulled back slightly, just enough to look into Jimin's eyes, those wide, shimmering orbs filled with unshed tears. He traced the line of Jimin's jaw as if memorizing the contours all over again, a gesture intimate and reverent. "You don't have to be strong all the time," Jungkook murmured. "You can let it out, right here, right now." Jimin's chest tightened. He had held so much back, so many fears and doubts trying to be brave for Jungkook, for himself. But in this moment, the vulnerability he had buried beneath layers of smiles and laughter surfaced in full force. He let himself crumble, tears spilling freely, shaking against Jungkook's chest. It wasn't weakness. It was the release he had needed, the confession of a soul weighed down by love, regret, and hope all at once. The crowd around them faded into a blur. He didn't hear the cheer of the festival goers or the ringing in his ears from the fireworks. All that existed was the steady warmth of Jungkook's arms, the rhythmic beating of a heart that matched his own, and the faint taste of salt and emotion on his lips as they met in a quiet, lingering kiss. I remember everything," Jimin said after a long pause, voice muffled against Jungkook's shoulder. "Every mistake, every promise, I thought I'd mess everything up." "You didn't," Jungkook said firmly. "We both did, but we're here, together, that's what matters." And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, Jimin laughed softly, through the tears, a sound fragile but unbroken. He pulled back just enough to see Jungkook's face, illuminated by the last streaks of fireworks, and realized he had never felt more alive or more understood. They stayed like that as the night air grew colder, the final sparks fading from the sky. The world around them carried on, oblivious to the small, profound miracle of two hearts finding refuge in one another. Jimin leaned his head on Jungkook's shoulder, closing his eyes, letting the weight of the past year settle, not as a burden, but as a testament to endurance, trust, and love that had survived storms seen and unseen. The subtle hum of distant fireworks still lingered, echoing the rhythm of their hearts. And in that quiet aftermath, Jimin knew something fundamental. They had survived not despite the pain, but because they had faced it together. The rain started without warning, cold and insistent, hammering against the city streets like a drumbeat of impending chaos. Jimin and Jungkook ran through the narrow alleyways, slick with neon reflections from the signs above, their breaths ragged, hearts pounding, not from exertion, but from the intensity of what had just happened. "You can't just storm in like that," Jimin shouted, his voice raw with frustration, but the words were nearly drowned by the patter of rain. His hair plastered to his forehead, he wiped at his damp face, eyes glinting with anger and fear. "Do you even realize what you just did?" Jungkook's expression was unreadable at first, shadows hiding the flicker of guilt beneath. Then he grabbed Jimin by the shoulders, pressing him against the cold brick wall. "I had to know. I couldn't sit there and pretend nothing was wrong while you," he trailed off, voice thick with emotion. "While I was losing you, even for a second." "You're reckless," Jimin spat, stepping back, shaking his head. "Do you have any idea what could have happened? Someone could have seen us. Someone could have." "Seen us?" Jungkook cut him off sharply, leaning in so close Jimin could feel the heat radiating from him despite the rain. "Do you know what it felt like to think I might lose you, to feel you slipping away because of my stupid mistakes, my pride?" His hands tightened slightly on Jimin's arms, but it wasn't aggression, it was desperation. I can't do that anymore. Not with you, not now." Jimin's chest ached, the mixture of fear, desire, and unresolved anger twisting inside him. He wanted to yell, to push Jungkook away, but he couldn't. Every time Jungkook touched him, it was like fire spreading through his veins, igniting something dangerous and beautiful all at once. "You always think you can fix everything by storming in, don't you?" Jimin said, voice trembling but defiant. "But life isn't a game, Jungkook. People get hurt, people see, people judge. And you just don't care." "I care," Jungkook snapped, his eyes flashing with intensity. "More than you can possibly imagine. I care so much it hurts. I care so much I would rather fight the world than fight you. Do you understand that? I would rather bleed than let you go." Jimin froze, the words sinking like stones into his chest. He had heard similar confessions before, whispered late at night, trembling and desperate. But hearing it now, raw and dripping with rain and urgency, it tore through the defenses he had built for months. "You really don't get it," Jimin muttered, pulling his hands from Jungkook's grip, fingers trembling. "It's not just about me, it's about us. About everything we've been through. I can't just forget the past, Jungkook. The lies, the half-truths, the moments where I wondered if you even wanted me here at all." Jungkook's eyes softened, and for a moment the fire was replaced with a haunted vulnerability. "I wanted you more than anything. But I messed up, I know I did. I can't erase it, but I can try to make it right. All of it. You have to trust me, Jimin. Just for one night, for one moment, trust me." The rain slowed to a drizzle as Jimin stared at him, chest heaving, mind spinning with memories of arguments, whispered promises, stolen kisses in the dark. The city felt like it had stopped moving around them, the neon lights flickering softly, the damp air heavy with the scent of wet asphalt and desire. "You're insane," Jimin whispered finally, a small, broken laugh escaping him. "Absolutely insane." "And you love it," Jungkook countered with a smirk, though his eyes betrayed the depth of his worry and longing. "Admit it." Jimin's lips parted, a gasp caught between laughter and disbelief, and before he could stop himself, he collided with Jungkook, pressed against him with a heat that defied the cold rain. Words became useless as their lips met, urgent, demanding, desperate. Every touch carried the weight of the year they had endured, the betrayals, the reconciliations, the fear of losing one another, and now, in the pouring rain, it all came crashing together. When they finally broke apart, gasping and shivering, Jungkook pressed his forehead to Jimin, whispering, "You're mine, always." Jimin's hands clutched at his jacket, the cool fabric doing little to ground him as emotions collided inside. "And you're mine," he breathed, the confession trembling but fierce. "Even when I hate you, even when I caw." "I don't want perfection," Jungkook said, voice low and intense. "I want us. Every messy, terrifying, ridiculous piece of us, that's enough." For a long moment, they simply held each other, the rain turning to mist around them, blending with the steam of their ragged breaths. Every sound, the distant honk of a taxi, the faint crackle of neon, The dripping water from the roofs above faded to insignificance. But just as the storm outside began to settle, a sudden noise, a sharp, metallic clatter echoed from the alley entrance. Both of them froze, hearts leaping in unison. Jimin's mind raced. Was it a stray cat? A mugger? Something worse, something tied to the secrets they had tried to bury. Jungkook's hand tightened around Jimin, pulling him closer. "Stay behind me," he said, voice a growl that carried both fear and protection. Their eyes scanned the shadows, searching, every instinct screaming that this night was far from over. The figure emerged slowly, hooded and deliberate, and for a heartbeat, time stopped. Recognition, shock, and dread flashed across Jimin's face. "No, it can't be," he whispered. The stranger lifted their head, and in the dim glow of the neon, the eyes that met theirs sent a shiver down their spines. A mirror of past betrayals and the kind of dangerous knowledge that could unravel everything. "Jimin," Jungkook said sharply, protective. "Who is that?" Jimin swallowed hard, heart hammering. "Someone from the past we thought we left behind." The rain fell harder again, soaking them to the bone as tension crackled in the air. Every decision they had made, every secret they had shared, seemed suddenly fragile. And in that moment, under the relentless storm and flickering neon, they both realized that surviving each other might have been easier than surviving the world outside. Jimin's fingers dug into Jungkook's shirt. We can't let them ruin this, not after everything." Jungkook nodded, jaw tight, eyes locked on the approaching figure. "Then we fight, together, always." And as the stranger stepped closer, the tension reached a fever pitch, the storm reflecting the chaos inside them both. Their year together, every heartbreak, every stolen laugh, every secret held close. They would need all of it if they were going to survive what was coming next. The stranger's shadow stretched long under the flickering neon lights, rain dripping from the hood like a silent warning. Jimin's heart pounded so violently he could feel it in his throat. Jungkook's hand tightened around his wrist, a tether anchoring him to reality. "Stay close," Jungkook murmured, voice low, the protective edge sharper than any blade. The figure stopped a few steps away, the hood sliding back to reveal sharp, familiar features that sent a chill crawling up Jimin's spine. "You didn't think I'd forget, did you?" the stranger asked, voice smooth but edged with menace. Recognition slammed into Jimin like a freight train. Memories he had buried, pain, shame, secrets, flooded back, raw and insistent. Jimin swallowed, voice barely audible. I thought we were done with this." "You thought wrong," the stranger replied, stepping closer. "Some debts, some promises don't just vanish, not even for you." The way they said you made it feel personal, like a knife twisting in an unhealed wound. Jungkook stepped forward, shielding Jimin with his body, his gaze hard. "If you're here to cause trouble, you're wasting your time. He's not yours to manipulate." The stranger laughed softly, a sound that made Jimin shiver. "Oh, Jungkook, it's not about ownership. It's about unfinished business. You've both been playing a dangerous game and now the board is set. Are you ready to play?" Jimin's breath hitched. The stranger's words dredged up memories of betrayal, miscommunication, and lies they had thought long buried. He glanced at Jungkook, eyes wide with fear and trust intertwined, the kind of trust that had survived months of uncertainty. We can't go back," Jimin said, voice trembling. "We've worked too hard, Worked hard," the stranger interrupted, smirk curling their lips. "You call running in the rain, hiding feelings, and pretending nothing exists working hard. You're fragile, both of you, and fragile things break." Jungkook's jaw clenched. "We're not fragile, we're fighters, and you're not taking this from us." His hand slid to Jimin, gripping it firmly, a silent vow of protection and defiance. The stranger tilted their head, eyes narrowing. "Defiance is cute but naive. I know what you fear most, what keeps you awake at night, and I can exploit it. You know that, don't you, Jimin?" Jimin's stomach churned. The secret he had buried, the lie he had told to protect Jungkook, threatened to surface. His throat tightened as guilt and panic collided, and for the first time he felt truly vulnerable. I won't let you." "Won't let me what?" The stranger's tone was mocking, deliberate. Destroy what you think you've built, expose what you've hidden, make you question every decision you've made. That's already happening, Jimin. Look at you. Look at him. Jimin glanced at Jungkook, whose steady gaze was the only anchor keeping him from unraveling completely. The tension between them was electric, anger, fear, desire, and love all coiled together. Jimin's hands trembled, but he forced himself to stand tall. We'll face it together, whatever you throw at us. The stranger smiled, an edge of triumph in their eyes. Bold words. Let's see if they hold when the truth comes crashing down. And with that, they turned and melted back into the rain-soaked city, leaving Jimin and Jungkook alone, the neon lights flickering like a heartbeat in the storm. For a moment, they didn't speak. The rain fell softly now, a gentle patter against their skin, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Jimin sank against Jungkook, exhausted, shaken. Why does it feel like we're always a step behind? He whispered, voice raw. Because we've been hiding, Jungkook said, voice husky. Hiding from the past, hiding from ourselves. But that ends tonight. No more running, no more lies, just us. He tilted Jimin's chin up, fingers brushing damp strands of hair from his face. And if the world wants to challenge us, let it. We'll face it together. Jimin's chest tightened at the intensity in Jungkook's eyes, and all the fear, anger, and vulnerability he had been holding back surged forward. He leaned in, pressing a fierce, desperate kiss against Jungkook's lips, a silent promise, a challenge, a confession. The rain soaked their clothes, plastered their hair, but they didn't care. The world around them ceased to exist, leaving only the heat of their bodies and the storm of emotions between them. When they finally broke apart, gasping for breath, Jimin's fingers threaded through Jungkook, anchoring himself. I can't lose you, not now, not ever. You won't, Jungkook murmured, voice low and urgent. I'll make sure of it. Every moment, every choice, it's always you, always. The city lights reflected in Jimin's eyes, making them glisten with tears and rain. His lips trembled as he whispered, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts, Jungkook said, pulling him close again. That's when we need each other the most. They stood there, drenched and trembling, the storm around them fading into quiet drizzle, the tension between them replaced by an intense, almost unbearable intimacy. And yet, as the last of the neon reflections faded, Jimin couldn't shake the stranger's words from his mind. The knowledge that their past, their secrets, and the choices they had made were about to collide with their present in ways neither of them could fully anticipate. Jimin shivered, pressing his forehead to Jungkook's chest. What if we can't survive what's coming? Jungkook's arms tightened around him, protective, unyielding. Then we fight, together, always you and me. And in that moment, despite the fear, despite the chaos, Jimin realized that no matter what storms the world sent, as long as Jungkook was by his side, he could endure anything. The air in the apartment was thick with unspoken words, the scent of rain still clinging to their damp clothes. Jimin leaned against the wall, staring at the floor, his mind a storm of guilt, fear, and desire. Jungkook sat across from him, knees drawn up, watching him with an intensity that made Jimin's chest ache. You're quiet, Jungkook said finally, breaking the tension. His voice was low, almost dangerous. What are you thinking about? Jimin's fingers twisted at the hem of his shirt. Everything, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. The stranger, the secrets us. I keep wondering if I did the right thing by trusting you. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in a kind of protective vigilance. You trust me, he said slowly. Or at least you think you do. But trust isn't a guarantee, Jimin. It's earned every day, every choice, and sometimes it's messy. Jimin swallowed hard. Messy is an understatement, he murmured, the memory of the stranger's words still cutting through him. I feel like everything could collapse at any moment. One wrong move and we're done. Jungkook's hand reached out, brushing Jimin's damp hair from his forehead. The touch was electric, intimate, and Jimin felt a shiver run down his spine. Then don't let it collapse, Jungkook said firmly. Not alone, not ever. We fight together. That's the only way we survive. Their eyes locked, and for a moment the world outside ceased to exist. The tension between them shifted, charged with the unspoken, the longing that had been simmering for months. Jimin's pulse raced, and he felt a heat spreading through him, a hunger that matched the storm in his chest. "I can't stop thinking about you," Jimin admitted, voice trembling. "Even when I'm angry, even when I want to push you away, I can't." Jungkook leaned in, close enough that their breaths mingled. "Good," he whispered, "because I feel the same, always." His lips brushed Jimin's ear, sending a jolt of electricity down his spine. "Every time you try to fight me, every time you hold back, it just makes me want you more." Jimin's knees weakened, and he sank onto the couch beside Jungkook, unable to resist any longer. Their hands found each other, fingers entwining, and the room seemed to shrink around them, the space between them charged with desire and emotion. "You have no idea how much I've wanted this," Jungkook murmured, pressing a hand to Jimin's cheek. "Every look, every touch, every second we've stolen, it's all led to this." Jimin swallowed, lips trembling as he leaned into Jungkook's touch. "Then don't stop," he whispered, and the words were both a plea and a command. The kiss that followed was fierce, urgent, and laden with months of pent-up emotion. Every hesitation, every doubt, every fear melted away in the heat of their connection. Jimin's hands roamed, exploring, seeking, clinging, while Jungkook responded with equal intensity, their bodies pressed together as if trying to merge into one. Hours seemed to pass in moments, time suspended as they explored the depth of their desire and the fragility of their bond. And yet, amid the passion, a shadow lingered, an unspoken threat, the stranger's warning echoing in Jimin's mind. When they finally pulled apart, breathing heavily, Jimin's forehead rested against Jungkook's chest. "What if we're not ready?" he asked, voice barely audible, laden with fear. Jungkook's fingers threaded through his hair, holding him tightly. "We're as ready as we'll ever be," he said firmly. "Whatever comes, we face it together. That's what matters, always." The night deepened, and with it, a creeping tension returned. The phone buzzed on the table, and Jimin's heart lurched. A message appeared. "I know where you are, be careful, or everything you've built will crumble." Jimin froze, reading the words over and over. Jungkook snatched the phone, scanning the message with narrowed eyes. "They're closer than we thought," he muttered, jaw tight. "And they're not just watching, they're planning." Jimin's stomach twisted. The passion, the intimacy, the fragile sense of safety, they were all illusions. The world outside their room was relentless, dangerous, and unforgiving. Yet, even in the face of fear, he clung to Jungkook, needing that warmth, that certainty, that promise. "You can't protect me from everything," Jimin whispered. "And I can't protect you either." "We don't have to," Jungkook said, voice steady, though his grip on Jimin was fierce. "We just have to protect each other, and we will, no matter what, that's our choice." The storm outside mirrored the storm inside them, a blend of desire, fear, love, and uncertainty. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered vow was a defiance of the chaos waiting just beyond their door. And as they clung to each other, hearts racing, Jimin knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, he would face it with Jungkook, even if the world tried to tear them apart. And just as he allowed himself a fleeting moment of peace, a soft knock echoed from the door. Both of them froze, breath caught, hearts thudding in unison. The message, the stranger, the danger, they had not gone away. It had only begun. The knock at the door had barely faded when it became clear this was no ordinary visitor. Jimin's pulse slammed against his ribs as he exchanged a glance with Jungkook, whose jaw was tight, eyes burning with determination and something darker, something that hinted at the dangerous edge they now teetered on. "Who is it?" Jimin whispered, voice trembling despite the fire of adrenaline coursing through him. Jungkook didn't answer. He moved to the door with deliberate caution, fingers brushing the cold metal handle as he slowly pulled it open. A figure stood there, drenched in rain, hooded, yet unmistakably familiar. Jimin's stomach sank. The stranger's eyes glimmered with calculated intent, a cruel smile playing across their lips. "You didn't think I'd wait outside forever, did you?" the stranger said, voice low, dangerous, and intoxicatingly confident. "I came in. You can't hide from me." Jimin swallowed, chest tight, and instinctively stepped closer to Jungkook. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded, voice shaking between anger and fear. What do you want from us? What do I want? The stranger echoed, tilting their head. I want the truth. I want to see who will break first. I want to watch everything you've built shatter or survive. And I want to remind you that love is not enough to protect you. Their gaze flicked to Jungkook, dark and piercing, and then to Jimin, sharp and intimate. Especially when secrets are involved. Jimin's throat went dry. Secrets. The word hit like a blade. The weight of everything he had tried to conceal, the lies, the omissions, the moments he had hidden his true feelings, crashed over him. His hands trembled, not with fear alone, but with the shame of knowing the stranger was right. You're not going to intimidate us, Jungkook growled, stepping between Jimin and the stranger, protective and fierce. Not tonight, not ever. The stranger laughed softly, a sound that sent shivers down Jimin's spine. Oh, I'm not trying to intimidate, they said. I'm just testing. You see, love is fragile, passion is fragile. And when confronted with reality, who among you will bend, who will break? That's what I want to know. Jimin's hands clenched into fists. His chest ached, torn between desire and fear, passion and vulnerability. He turned to Jungkook, eyes wide, searching for the strength he desperately needed. We can't let them do this to us, he said, voice shaking. Not after everything, not now. Jungkook's gaze softened, but his tone remained unwavering. We won't. We face this together, always. No one can touch what we've built, not as long as we hold on to each other. His hand found Jimin, fingers entwining with a possessive, urgent grip. The warmth grounded them, a fragile shield against the storm outside and the danger at their doorstep. The stranger's smirk deepened. Ah, young love, so passionate, so naive, but passion can blind you. It can make you reckless. Their gaze lingered on Jimin, unsettlingly intimate. Tell me, Jimin, how far are you willing to go to protect what you love? Jimin's body responded before his mind could. A flush of heat surged through him, the tension between fear and desire twisting in a way that made his pulse race uncontrollably. Further than you'll ever understand, he said, voice low, defiant, yet trembling. Jungkook's hand tightened on Jimin's, a silent promise. And I, Jungkook said, his voice deep and commanding, am right there with you. Every step, every challenge, we fight together or we don't fight at all. The stranger tilted their head, eyes gleaming with a dangerous curiosity, as if savoring the intensity of their connection. Very well, they said finally, voice silk over steel. We shall see, but remember, no one can control the past, no one can dictate the future, and no matter how strong you are together, the truth has a way of finding its way through. With that, the stranger turned and vanished into the rain-soaked night, leaving Jimin and Jungkook standing in the silence that followed. The city outside was quiet, the storm fatting to a soft drizzle, yet inside, the tension and adrenaline remained thick in the air. Jimin exhaled shakily, pressing his forehead against Jungkook's chest. I don't know if I can handle this, he admitted, voice small, vulnerable, and raw. Jungkook's arms wrapped around him, holding him with a strength that was both reassuring and possessive. You don't have to handle it alone, he murmured, voice low and steady. You never will, not as long as I'm here, not as long as we have each other. The words wrapped around Jimin like a lifeline, calming the storm in his chest even as the echoes of the stranger's warning lingered. Desire, fear, and passion tangled in a complex web inside him. But in that moment, none of it mattered except the heat of Jungkook's body against his, the steady rhythm of his heart, and the fierce, unbreakable bond they shared. You're impossible, Jimin whispered, a shiver of both exasperation and longing in his voice. And you love it, Jungkook replied with a smirk, though his eyes betrayed the depth of emotion and determination simmering beneath the surface. Always. Jimin laughed softly, through trembling lips, and leaned into him, letting the intensity of the moment wash over him. The stranger, the secrets, the looming threat, they were real and dangerous and relentless. But here, in Jungkook's arms, he felt untouchable, unstoppable, alive. Until the phone buzzed again. Jimin froze. Jungkook snatched the device, scanning the screen. The message was brief, sharp, and suffocating in its clarity. Tonight, everything changes. Are you ready to see what lies beneath? Jimin's stomach dropped. His pulse spiked. Desire, fear, passion, and dread collided in a torrent that left him breathless. He pressed close to Jungkook, needing that reassurance, that warmth, that certainty in the face of chaos. "We'll face it," Jungkook said, voice steady despite the fire in his eyes. "Together, no matter what." And as the rain pattered against the windows, as the night held its breath around them, Jimin realized with sharp clarity that the world outside was ready to test them in ways they had never imagined, and that survival would demand everything they had: trust, passion, and the unshakable bond that tied them together, heart to heart, soul to soul. The city lights reflected on the wet pavement like fractured diamonds, flickering as if mirroring the chaos swirling inside Jimin. He gripped Jungkook's hand tightly, the warmth anchoring him as they moved through the deserted streets. The stranger's words had left a bitter residue in his mind, a haunting echo he couldn't shake. Every shadow, every distant noise felt like a threat. "I can't believe they're really doing this," Jimin muttered, voice low and tense. "They've been waiting for this moment, waiting to see us fall apart." Jungkook's jaw was tight, his eyes scanning the darkness with a calculated intensity. "They're not going to succeed," he said firmly, voice a low growl. "Not if we don't let them. We're not fragile, not like they think, and not alone." Jimin's chest heaved, torn between fear and longing. But what if it's more than we can handle? What if this time it's too much? Jungkook stopped walking, turning to face him, fingers brushing damp strands of hair from Jimin's forehead. The intimacy of the gesture, the intensity of Jungkook's gaze made Jimin's knees weaken. "Then we handle it together," Jungkook said firmly. "Every step, every challenge, every secret, and if it hurts, we hurt together. That's the only way we survive this." Jimin's lips trembled. He wanted to protest, to argue, but the heat in Jungkook's eyes silenced him. Desire and fear twisted together, making every breath sharp and heavy. You make it sound so simple," he whispered. "But it's not." "It's never simple," Jungkook admitted, stepping closer, letting their bodies brush. "But it's worth it. Every messy, terrifying, beautiful second of it. I can't imagine surviving this without you." The rain picked up again, pattering over them like a drumbeat of urgency and danger. Jimin pressed closer, drawn by the magnetic pull between them. "Then don't let me go," he whispered, a confession and a plea wrapped together. "Not now, not ever." Jungkook's hands cradled his face, fingers tracing the contours as if memorizing them. "Never," he said, voice low, intense. "You're mine, always, and I'm yours." The kiss that followed was explosive, urgent, and consuming. Every frustration, every fear, every longing they had harbored over the past months poured into it. Jimin's hands clutched at Jungkook, nails digging into his back, and Jungkook responded with equal fervor, their bodies pressed together, trembling with heat and need amidst the cold drizzle. When they finally broke apart, gasping for breath, their foreheads pressed together, the city around them felt distant, insignificant. But even in that intimacy, the tension lingered, a reminder that danger was never far behind. Jimin shivered, fingers brushing along Jungkook's arm. I can't keep hiding from this," he admitted, voice trembling with vulnerability. "If they're coming for us, we have to face it head-on. No more running." Jungkook nodded, pulling him into a protective embrace. "I know," he said, "and we will, together, but we can't underestimate them. They know our weaknesses. They'll exploit every fear, every doubt, every hesitation." Jimin's heart raced, thoughts spinning. The stranger had promised revelations, exposure, a challenge that would test the very foundation of their bond. The uncertainty was suffocating, but he clung to Jungkook, needing that certainty in a world that felt increasingly unpredictable. "I hate that they can do this to us," Jimin muttered, voice low, frustrated. "That they can make us question everything, even ourselves." "That's exactly why we can't let them win," Jungkook said, pressing a kiss to Jimin's temple, fingers threading through his damp hair. "They can't touch what we have, not our love, not our bond, not us." For a long moment, they simply held each other, breathing in rhythm, the storm outside echoing the storm within. Desire, fear, anger, and love coiled together in a chaotic, intoxicating blend that left them both trembling. Then a sudden flash of light caught Jimin's attention. A figure appeared across the street, barely visible through the rain, a shadowy silhouette watching, calculating. Jimin's breath hitched. "They're here," he whispered. Jungkook's grip tightened, possessive and urgent. "Stay behind me," he ordered, voice low and fierce. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The figure stepped closer, revealing a face Jimin thought he'd never see again. Betrayal, shock, and unresolved tension flashed across Jimin's features. "You!" he breathed, heart pounding. Jungkook's eyes hardened, protective fire blazing. "What do you want?" he demanded, voice sharp and commanding. The figure smiled, dangerously calm. "I'm here to remind you, nothing is as safe as you think, and love alone can't shield you from the truths you've buried." Jimin's stomach twisted. The secrets he had kept, the moments he had tried to hide, they were all about to surface. Every lie, every omission, every fear, laid bare before the eyes of the one who threatened everything. Jungkook pressed close, jaw tight, body tense with readiness. "Then we face it," he said firmly, his hands gripping Jimin's. "No matter what, no matter who comes, always us." The night held its breath around them, rain blurring the world into streaks of light and shadow. And as the figure approached, Jimin realized with sudden clarity that their love, the passion, the intimacy, the fierce devotion, would be tested in ways they could never have anticipated. The storm was only beginning. Jimin shivered, pressing against Jungkook, fear and desire coiling together. I'm ready," he whispered, voice trembling. Jungkook smiled, dark and intense, brushing a damp strand of hair from Jimin's face. "Then let's face it, together, always." The city around them seemed to pulse with anticipation, the rain's slick streets reflecting their determination, their passion, their unbreakable bond. And as the shadow drew closer, the first crack of chaos rang out, a promise that nothing would ever be the same again. The city's skyline glimmered under a fractured moon, rain-slicked streets reflecting every shard of light like fractured memories. Jimin's hands were trembling, not from the cold, but from the weight of everything that had led them here. The secrets, the betrayals, the relentless pursuit of the stranger, and the raw, unspoken truths between him and Jungkook. "Are you sure about this?" Jimin asked, voice tight with fear and longing. "Once we face them, there's no turning back." Jungkook's eyes burned with unwavering intensity. He cupped Jimin's face, fingers digging lightly into his cheeks, grounding him. "I've never been more sure of anything," he said. "This is the moment we fight, not just for us, but for everything we've built. Every laugh, every tear, every stolen second. We fight together, always." The stranger appeared, stepping out from the shadows, their presence sharp and menacing. "So this is the famous duo everyone's been whispering about," they said, voice smooth yet venomous. "Passionate, reckless, inseparable, but passion alone won't save you." Jimin's chest tightened. Memories of fear, moments of doubt, every secret he had tried to hide surfaced in a painful rush. But he looked at Jungkook, at the fierce determination in his eyes, and felt something steady, unbreakable. "We've faced worse," Jimin said, voice steadier than he felt. "We've survived everything life threw at us, and we'll survive this too, together." Jungkook stepped forward, positioning himself between Jimin and the stranger, protective, defiant. "Enough games," he said, voice low and dangerous. "Whatever you're planning, it stops here. Not because we're fragile, but because we won't let you destroy what we've built. Not our love, not us." The stranger's smirk faltered for a brief moment, recognition flickering across their face. "Bold words," they said, voice clipped. "Let's see if you can back them up." In the blink of an eye, the stranger lunged, but Jungkook moved faster, his hands catching theirs in a firm grip, twisting with precision. Jimin's heart pounded as he watched, fear and adrenaline mixing with a heat that pulsed through his veins. He knew then that survival wasn't just about fighting, it was about trust, about letting each other carry the weight when the world tried to crush them. "You don't scare me anymore," Jimin whispered, stepping closer, hands gripping Jungkook's arm. "Not you, not this, not anyone, because I have him, and he has me." Jungkook's lips brushed Jimin's forehead, a fleeting, tender promise amidst the chaos. "Exactly," he murmured. Always us, no matter what. The stranger hesitated, anger flashing in their eyes, and then slowly backed away, disappearing into the shadows, leaving only the lingering threat and the echo of what could have been. The tension in the air dissolved, replaced by a heavy, cathartic relief. Jimin exhaled shakily, leaning into Jungkook's chest, letting the warmth of his embrace wash over him. "I can't believe it's finally over," he whispered, voice trembling. "I was so scared we wouldn't make it." Jungkook's arms tightened around him, possessive and reassuring. "We made it," he said softly, brushing damp strands of hair from Jimin's face. "And we will keep making it. Every storm, every challenge, we face it together. That's the only way we survive." Jimin tilted his head up, lips brushing against Jungkook, in a kiss that was slow, deliberate, and full of the kind of intimacy that only comes from surviving the impossible together. Every fear, every heartbreak, every doubt melted into the kiss, leaving only clarity. They belonged to each other, wholly, completely, and irrevocably. They stood there, rain-soaked and exhausted, as the first fireworks of a distant celebration burst in the night sky. The colors reflected in Jimin's tears, in Jungkook's eyes, a symbol of renewal, hope, and a future built on trust and love. Jimin rested his head on Jungkook's shoulder, breathing in his warmth. "I don't want to hide anymore," he murmured. "From the world, from ourselves, from you." Jungkook kissed the top of his head, a soft, lingering promise. "Then don't," he said. "Not ever. We'll face everything together, always. I choose you, every time." The fireworks bloomed overhead, painting the sky in brilliant colors, echoing the culmination of a year filled with passion, fear, joy, and heartache. And in that moment, with the rain finally easing and the city breathing around them, Jimin and Jungkook held on to each other, knowing that no matter what the future held, they had survived, loved, and conquered it together. No more secrets, no more fear, just them, their love, and an unbreakable promise that would carry them through every storm, every challenge, and every unknown waiting beyond the horizon. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Jimin allowed himself to truly smile, letting go of the past and embracing a present, and a future, with Jungkook by his side.